there, I'm Dr. Julia Spinola, and welcome to Season 3 of Medical Girl Mystical World, where health is not just about medicine. Please check out my new social media at juliaspinolo.com and at Dr. Julia Spinolo on Instagram and Facebook. Today, my guest is Slade Roberson. He's a professional intuitive, an author, and host of the wickedly popular Shift Your Spirits podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about personal empowerment and becoming your own hero. So welcome, Slade Roberson.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. You may remember Slade from season 1, and he had such great feedback. I wanted to have him on. Plus, he's a friend of mine, and he's super cool. So,
Thank you.
So, let's jump in. Slade and I talk a lot since we are friends, and we were talking about our businesses because we do kind of intuitive counseling, and we also talk about how best we can serve our clients, but giving them tools to do for themselves. So this conversation is about that. So let's just jump on into it.
Well, I think one of the most important things to point out is there are certain people who want their clients to be really dependent on them and call them a lot because that's how they make their money.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to discourage anyone from being a client. Obviously, it is a business.
Right.
But I feel like when I'm having a session, one of the most important things for me is to educate them so that when they go away from that session, they have tools to address some of those issues if they come up between now and the next time they talk to me.
I always give my clients homework, at least 3 things to work on. And when they come back, and I tell them they use their own intuition. I want to come back to see me. Learn to build that personal self-care and that relying on themselves.
The thing is that people are always going to need feedback.
Right.
Even the most psychic, well-adjusted, intelligent person is still going to overanalyze things and need some feedback from outside their own head. They're going to need to be accountable to someone else. It helps to know that somebody else is expecting you to finish or that they want to follow up with you and say, how's that going? What's going on with that? So, I think educating people is a big part of what I think about when I am coaching them.
Mm-hmm. I actually had a client that came in and she came to me and she goes, the reason why I chose you because I don't want to be a chronic client. Somebody that comes in, I want to do my work with you, but then I want to go on and thrive. And I'm like, this is perfect. You're like an ideal client for this. When do you think it is too much when somebody starts to rely on others, psychics, healers, or therapists? When do you think that's too much?
So I personally, if I was getting advice from someone about a project or a relationship or something like that, if I'm given tools and assignments and things to work on, I'm probably good for 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I think where I see some red flags are when people keep bringing the same issue back. They haven't done anything differently, but they want to talk about it again. And I might feel like, I'm just repeating myself.
Mm-hmm.
You're just paying me to repeat myself. This is not, constructive. And if you're the client and you really start to feel insecure about every issue that comes up, every question, feeling like you need to talk to somebody about it before you can make a choice or take action or start to investigate on your own, because you can get in your head about something and become really insecure and start to overanalyze and paralyze yourself from overthinking things, no matter who you are.
Because I've had that before where I've had to kind of set my boundaries where people would be texting me or emailing me, what do I do in this situation? What do I do in this situation? Would you tell people that do that start to rely on somebody that they need to have somebody else's ear or their advice to move forward in whatever they're doing?
Well, one of the things that I recommend is that they start some type of practice of communicating with themselves. Everyone is familiar with morning pages, gratitude journaling. The technical term is proprioceptive writing. It's basically, journaling and having a conversation with your higher self. Some people use it to talk to their guides. You can think of it any way you want to. The source is secondary to the activity of, what would you say to your best friend? What would you say to your daughter if they brought you this situation? And set a timer on your phone, 15 minutes, and just write with no judgment. Don't worry about grammar. You're just trying to access some of your own intuition and get some of your subconscious thoughts to come out. Sometimes explaining things to another person is a great way to hear your own wisdom pop out of your mouth. So maybe you don't need to hear what I have to say about it as much as you need to hear what you have to say about it.
And that is because I'm a huge advocate for therapy. And when I realized I did that, I just needed a sounding board. Yeah. And I would be talking, I'm like, holy shit, that's it. And, you know, my therapist, who was great, she was like, okay. I'm like, dang, she's got an easy job. All I have to do is just talk and she's just there.
I like clients that really want tools and they want to take action. You give them a great idea and they're like, that's amazing. I'm going to go do something with that. I'll let you know what happens. Those are my favorite kind of clients. I do like to talk to people repetitively more than once because we develop relationships with them. What I want to see ideally is for someone to bring an issue to me. We work on that. We talk about it, give them some tools, and then they go work on that for a while. And when something new presents itself, then they bring that back to the table. So I think one of the warning signs is, are you paying to call psychics and ask them about that same relationship over and over again? Have you already got the feedback from your mama and your girlfriends that they don't want you talking about him anymore? You know, like you're probably in the danger zone of overthinking this and not really listening to anybody's wisdom, including your own. So I think it's hard to quantify like a specific number of times, but for me, it's more, okay, we're not seeing a change here. This is the same thing month after month after month.
But I think people need to be aware, kind of step back and look at their own behavior of what's enough. So, for example, I have seen on a Facebook group where somebody had received the name of their spirit guide, but I don't think they were confident enough. So they were asking the whole group who knows it. And it got to be where this person was very desperate, where he or she was going to pay somebody to validate what he or she thought that their spirit guide's name was. And the people in the group were very supportive, but it was just like, trust what you get. And it was like this dire situation. So what do you tell somebody that's grasping for things like, I need this to make me feel that this is solid, this is it?
Within the bubble of your own awareness and consciousness, your own mind-body connection, you're kind of all powerful and omniscient. You know what I mean? You can name your spirit guides anything you want. Are you using them to then have a conversation? Are you using them to access some type of wisdom for yourself? I think everybody who is looking for an affirmation, when somebody brings you a problem, it's not that they haven't ever thought of a myriad different number of solutions. So what they're really listening for, and I think one of the things that we provide is we come in to a set of choices that they've overanalyzed, and we weigh heavily on one option. And so what's really happening is they're hearing the thing that they've already told themselves that they might not have been able to trust. So when you affirm that from outside them, you give them feedback from outside their own brain, then they're a little bit more able to trust that. So I can understand how somebody would get in a place of like, I need to hear from outside my own head that this is a good idea because I can't be objective about it anymore.
Right. I've actually had, because I will have readings, maybe once a year, maybe have that, seek for that clarification. Because and I've had somebody tell me before, and I appreciated it. She goes, you do not need to come back to me. I saw her once, and she goes, you got this in you. You do not need to come back and see me again. I was like, okay. And I appreciated that because some people just will. They'll take your money and repeat that. And so. Or
even set it up so in order for you to continue, you have to call them back, like it's like a cliffhanger. I don't want that kind of business. That's not empowering anyone.
So What would you suggest for those empowerment tools for people to use?
Like I said, I think one of the most important things that you need to do is have some kind of practice of accessing your own wisdom. For me, that's doing some type of automatic writing, journaling practice, nothing hardcore, 15 minutes a day. Sit down and do it with your coffee. I don't think that you have to formally meditate. I love to suggest walking meditations to people. Just go for a walk.
Yeah.
It's not like you don't need incense or a yoga mat or special clothes. Just go, and especially if you can be outside in nature, I think is a big factor. If you can have some sunlight on your face and some fresh air and see trees. Trees are really important. They have lots of energy and information. Yeah, they're very grounding just to see them. So I think that those are two really simple things that you can do right now to kind of reboot your sense of groundedness in reality, while also accessing some of those subconscious thoughts, some of the intuition, some of the higher self. Once you get those ideas, maybe you then go home and journal about them because something came to you on your walk. You want to start taking action on small things in your everyday life so that you can get feedback, again, from outside your own head. What happens if I drive a different way to work today? I've passed that shop a million times and I've always wanted to go in there. I'm going to go in there and see why.
Yeah.
There's information waiting for you in choices that you make.
Absolutely.
And what everyone who wants a reading is really trying to do is make a decision. And they've usually overthought options to the point where they feel insecure about making one choice over another one. So one of the things that I think is most important is to practice that in small ways so that when larger issues come along, it's, those muscles are a little bit more developed.
And you also, during one of our conversations, you talked about accessing your own intuition and using that. And you said something that was so beautiful. You said, the universe gives you feedback from your intuition, which is great because people don't recognize that unless something bad happens. You think something and your gut reaction, and then you're like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'll do something else. And then something happens. You're like, damn it. I should have gone with my gut instinct initially. So using those as your cues of like, this is what you need to listen to.
Well, the thing I think is so important about the phenomenon of having known that you were supposed to do something differently than you did, it blew up in your face and you're like, I knew that. I knew I shouldn't have done that. So what that is evidence that you do have intuition. It does work. You are getting information from the universe, and whether or not you're talking yourself out of it is a separate issue. But once you have the confidence to recognize those events are proving to you that you do have access to that. So what you really need to practice is the courage to maybe take a little bit of those risks. What if you do that thing that you just have the bolt from the blue about? What if instead of overanalyzing it and taking it apart, what if you just try it? Because here's the thing I think most people forget about. If it's the wrong choice, you'll know it really quickly. And you can scurry back to that point that you were at and go, okay, that didn't work. Now I'm going to do the other thing.
But that brings up the point, too, of when people repeat patterns of behavior.
Yes.
And I recognized when I was doing my own self-work that I did that because I really had to kind of go inward and be like, oh, damn, I do. When somebody says, you always do that, you should listen up to them because they're giving you a clue of like, you really got to think, oh, they're just picking on me. But yeah, maybe I should look at that. Or you always say that, or you always flake out, or this is what you always do. Those are your cues to say, really to do that self-work and introspection of how can I work through this and have a different outcome.
That's actually a revelation to me.
Yeah.
Because when you hear someone say you always or you never,
yes,
it immediately makes you defensive.
It does.
Your brain is like, okay, can I deny this? So what you're saying is there's probably some truth to the statement.
There's always some truth to it.
And that's a very humbling thing to be able to recognize that and say, you know what? What if there's something there?
And then I always say too, when somebody says that they're kidding about something or joking, there's always a little bit of truth in there too. So look at that as well. But I had, it was years ago, and somebody asked, "How are you doing?" And I was like, "Girl, I got some drama going on." And she said, "You always got drama going on." And I was like, I did. I had to think. And I was like, holy shit, I always do have drama going on. I'm like, how can I make this better? Because I don't want other people to think, here she goes again. She's always got drama going on. And so I did. I changed how I worked on the stuff that I needed to work on. I did not project whatever was happening with me to everybody that I came across. I did that work and how I dealt with it. And I didn't want to be that person that comes in, they roll their eyes and like, here she comes again, drama queen. I did. I shifted.
So what was it that you were doing though to when you had drama all around you? What was it that, did you invite it? Did you engage with it? Was it your perspective, or was it just the way that you communicated about the issues in your life to other people that made them feel like you were making it a drama?
I think it was communicating the things that were going on with my life, and part of that was seeking that validation and advice from them until I really started doing my self-work and really looking into those situations. I'm like, do these people need to know everything that's going on with me? It made me feel weak when that was really pointed out. I'm like, here, I thought I was sharing things with them as friends do about their lives and stuff, but it really made me hone in to do that self-empowerment and to be my guide on how to do things. And it was a big shift for me because it made me also very quiet. Where people, I'm revealing a lot in this episode. There's my therapy with Slade on camera. Enjoy. But really, I did. I mean, I became so quiet where people are like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm doing great. Because I did. I stopped. It was kind of like a 180. I was like wide open and blah, 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 blah. This is all what's going on. And then I just kind of like, no, I'm great. I'm doing good. And everybody's like, are you okay? Or,
do you think maybe you felt like as an intelligent person, some part of you was asking for help, right? Like you're dealing with this stuff. You're sort of wanting other people to maybe offer advice or feedback or something. But it's like, in order for you to ask for that, it needs to be really bad. Like yes. You need to portray it as that you're really, really under the gun in some way, because otherwise it's weak to say, you know what, I'm having trouble with this thing, or I'm having trouble with this person. I don't know what to do. Mm-hmm. Maybe you're dramatizing it was a way of sort of protecting yourself from looking weak.
Yeah. Maybe so.
Like a mixed message.
Because
situation.
I can be quite entertaining when I was talking about it, and get people laughing and stuff, and maybe that was part of the attention aspect. But I have a few close friends that I can confide in, but even with that, it really dramatically reduced.
Well, that made me think too of something about the empowerment thing that we're talking about.
Yeah.
A lot of people can hold space for you. Mm-hmm. Everybody should have that friend that they feel like they can talk to about anything. Sometimes we do need to vent. Sometimes we don't need people to tell us what to do. Mm-hmm. We need somebody to listen while we work it out. Mm-hmm. My mom is great for that. Yeah. I have at least 2 or 3, friends that will do that for me. Sometimes we do it through text message, right. But having those relationships in your life, if you don't have those relationships, the cool thing about our technology is there's an option to go on social media and find mm-hmm. groups of people that you can interact with if you don't want to tell people in your real life about what's going on with you. Mm-hmm. We have more and more options to connect with people, and you don't necessarily even need a professional. You just need somebody who's willing to hold space for you, which is a very generous thing to do.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you said that, because you have, from your popular podcast, you actually have a Shift Your Spirits community, and I'm a part of that.
Right.
And it is a safe space for people to go and to talk about different situations and get some different perspective. I don't think we've never had anybody there that abuses their privilege of being there. But because what we do is we learn from other people's conversation as well. So it's not just all this inner work, but also looking out and see what's going on with people, because we're all connected and something is going to resonate with you and you'll be like, you know what, I've been there. And then maybe you can offer your advice or whatever, or you might be going through a similar situation and get some golden nuggets from that conversation.
I think you need to present yourself, if you are going to say post about a problem that you're having online and ask for advice, you need to present yourself as someone who is willing to do work or willing to be, told something that you don't want to hear. Ask for proactive sort of advice. Don't just whine and then, stand back and wait for somebody to save you. Construct your questions in such a way that it makes it really obvious to people that this person is looking for some solutions. They're looking for some choices and options.
Right.
Has anybody else out there ever experienced this, and what did you do? End your post with a question, because I think that portrays you differently than being someone who's just looking for attention.
Yeah.
I think the thing that makes me different as a professional woo-woo person is that I don't really care about the source so much. Like, I don't care if it's God, Jesus, your grandma who passed away, your spirit guides, your angels, your higher self. I think those are all different perceptions sometimes of the same channel of wisdom. So I'm like, yeah. I think people can get way too caught up in where it's coming from and proving paranormal experiences and all that kind of stuff. I'm interested in, okay, well, what does that do for you in your real life? What if you do receive a message? What are you going to go out and do with that message? And is it going to impact you in a way that is healthy and constructive?
Yeah.
And I really, I have to stop people sometimes from spending their readings wanting to validate, a psychic phenomenon or something like that. It's like, don't you have a more important question that's actually about your life? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for coming to talk with me about this.
I always love talking to you.
I do too. At the end of my shows, and we didn't do this last time, I started a thing. It's called Fast 5 Q&A.
Oh, okay.
So I ask my guests questions, and it kind of gives us a glimpse of who you are outside of the professional, intuitive podcast host, that kind of thing. So first question is, if you owned a restaurant, what kind of food would you serve?
Greek food.
I love Greek food.
Yeah.
Okay. What is the oldest thing that you own?
The oldest thing that I own is probably a stuffed Scotty dog that was made by one of my grandmothers. It's like a quilted stuffed animal, and it's like a little black dog.
Oh, that's cute. Okay, what awful movie do you love?
Awful movie? Oh gosh, so many. People give a lot of hell to the movie Love Actually, and I really like that movie. I love that movie too. Yeah, so I'll use that one.
Yeah. What do you love most about your car?
I love everything about my car. I have a Mini Cooper, and it actually was my dream car. I know that doesn't sound like,
But what's your favorite part? Is it going faster on curves or what?
I love the color. It's racing green. It's a very colorful and happy looking vehicle. And I like the fact that it's very squat and solid, and I feel very safe in it.
Okay. Last one. What is your current favorite song?
Current favorite song? Well, I'm really obsessed with Yola, Yola. She is a folk / new country artist out of England. She's an African British woman in her early 20s who sounds like everything from Roberta Flack to Tina Turner to Dolly Parton. So she has an album called Walk Through Fire that's on heavy rotation right now. So just all the songs.
All the songs on there.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Slade. Can you tell our guests how to get in contact with you and look at all your stuff?
Yeah, sure. So you can go to sladeroberson.com. If you're interested in professional intuitive training, you can go to automaticintuition.com. And I host the Shift Your Spirits podcast.
And it's an awesome podcast.
Thank
You
you.
can like totally binge listen to it. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Until next time, thank you.